Afternoon everybody. I just thought I would do a little video just to sort of talk about a few of the things that I've been reading and just a little bit on mind and body. I know I keep going on about how important it is to do your fitness, and we all know that it helps your mind. But one thing I've always thought of, actually, we all go on about how we want to be fit and healthy and strong, to keep our bodies healthy and just to, what I'm trying to say, just to keep strong and give us that push that we need to make us feel good about us in our physical body. But one thing that we always sort of, I don't think we forget about it, but I think sometimes we don't focus enough, is about your mind. So obviously your physical body's great, but your mind, obviously your mental health is just important. So I'm going to just do a little bit on what I've been using over the last, probably since lockdown. I've always read quite a lot of mindfulness books. I've always read a lot of spiritual books. But one thing that I always go back to is a book that I got introduced to about, it must have been about 3 years ago, because it was when I had my miscarriage. So obviously I've made it quite aware that we all have problems. We always have up and downs in life. That's how I look at it. It's like a roller coaster. We all have points where you think, God, what is this all about? But one thing that did help me when I did go through my tough time of trying with Kalani, because obviously I had, it was about 2 miscarriages and then a couple of early ones. I knew I had to change my mindset, because I was just thinking so far in the future about trying to get pregnant, just trying to do everything, and it was just always thinking about the future. And then sometimes I would then get stressed, because then I'd think about the past, and then I would sit there and think, well, it's not happening, I've not fallen pregnant. I don't know, then I'll start, when that bit's not going right, you start analysing other parts of your life, and then in the end you're always thinking about the past and then the future. And one thing I did learn, and I've read this time and time again, and it really sticks with me, and I wanted to put it across just to see if I could help anybody, is the fact that if you're depressed, they say you live in the past. If you're anxious, you're living in the future. Now, we all know that, we're all going to have days where we're not going to be perfect. We're going to have a little bit of anxiety, or quite a lot of anxiety, but it's just how I look at it. And my only advice to everybody is just finding the tools, whether it's going for a walk, whether it's exercise, whether it's meeting up with a friend for a coffee, whether it's gardening, reading a book, meditation, anything, that helps you, that's a bonus. So I always say there's no right or wrong way. So I'm just going to go through what I do, and then if you want to take something from it, you can. So I got recommended this book ages and ages ago. I think it must have been about 3 years ago, because it was around the time, like I say, I was trying for Kalani, and I didn't really know what, I just literally, my head was baffled, because I fell very quickly with Kingsley and Tia, and I was very fortunate, I was very grateful, very blessed that I've got them. But when you got in your head you want another child, it was very, very hard. It was a very, very tough time. And I remember thinking, God, I need something to get my mindset better. One person, I remember walking into a bookshop, and I'll tell you the story of this one. I walked into, I think it might have been, I can't remember the one actually, which one it was. I think it might have been Smith's actually. It was just Smith's, I think. I walked in and there was a man beside me, and he was, didn't know him, I've never seen him before in my life. And I stood there looking at all the self-help books, and he come over to me and he said, excuse me, love, he said, you need to read this book, it's really, really good. And I'm a great believer that things happen for a reason. I believe that we meet people for what they say, is it a lesson, a season and a reason. And I do believe in that. I do believe that there's a reason for everything. Sometimes we don't know why these things happen, but I do believe there is an element or some reasoning for it. But there was a reason why this bloke had to give me this book, or recommended me to read it. So I picked it up, and it was The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. And I've gone on about it a lot, and probably see in my quotes that I always say the only importance, the only thing that matters is the now. Live in the now. I've put so many, when I do my quote of the day, a lot of it resembles back to living in the now. So this book is from this bloke called, it's a Guide to Spiritual Enlightenment by Eckhart Tolle, and it's The Power of Now. And what he's saying, I mean, I'm not going to go over it all, but it basically, it does say, like, obviously, there's no point living in the past because it's gone. The future, whether it's in the next minute or the hour or a week or a month or a year. It hasn't come yet. So all we've got is the now, the present. And I could go on about this for hours and hours. And it's for the first sort of couple of chapters, I was a bit like, oh, I don't know about this. And then suddenly something clicked and I thought, you're right. The only thing we have is the now. I mean, if you look at it this way, the lockdown has taught us all. None of us expected this. And how I look at it is how would I try to word it, right way of putting it? None of us expected that. So by thinking in the future what's going to happen, we don't know what's going on. I didn't even expect this as long as I've had off of work, probably like many of people. So there's no point worrying about the future, because every day, as we know, when you put on that news, there's something different going on, or some new rule or whatever we've got to follow. So there's no point looking in the future. You just got to focus on what's going on now in the present. And I do believe this is one of the best books that's grounded me, because it stops me from getting stressed, because what is the point of going back in the past? It's gone. The future's not here. No one knows what's around the corner. We all say it, everyone says it, life's too short, you know, don't worry about it because it's not here yet. Well, now we need to stay present. And if there's one thing I would say to do when you're having a moment, or you're getting panicky, or you're thinking, oh my God, I'm not saying you've got to start not plan for your future, but I do believe there's an element of, if you can just stay present in the now, even if it's just, it sounds really silly, but one of the points he puts in this book is like, well, not always take for granted, but I know I've done it before. Even when you're making a cup of tea, if you're starting to have thoughts, I know sometimes if I'm making a cup of tea and then I'm rowing about something, or something ain't been done, or I'm starting to think, oh God, you know, when am I going to go back to work, and this and this, I take myself back to what I'm doing. So at the moment, what am I doing? I'm making a cup of tea, putting the tea bag in, pouring the milk, and it keeps you present. I swear by it, as there is definitely a lot into sitting in the now and staying in the present. So that was The Power of Now. And another book I've read, which I've recently, I feel like I'm reading loads of books, is another person I followed on Instagram, Sylvester McNutt. And this is called Care Package, The Deep Path to Healing. So basically I think I've spoken about this before, actually, I might have, but we all talk about, like, everybody goes through stages of like guilt, shame, letting go, codependency, lack of purpose, people pleasing, setting boundary, negative talk. You could go on forever. And this book, basically, it's really good because it's got little quotes in it. So it's got obviously proper chapters in it, but at the end you've got like little quotes, so just little paragraphs, and it's brilliant. It's a really, really good book of just showing you different ways and tools to help you to go through little paths of healing. So it talks about relationships. It can talk about healing from just trauma, or past events, family events, even going back to when you were a childhood, like at school perhaps. And it's a really good overall book, but it's just a really good little book of sort of like pick up and just have a quick look if you just want that, if you feel like, do you know what, I feel like I need a little bit of healing, I need something. And I'm trying to find a really good there's loads in here, so I'm trying to think of something I could actually read out that would actually stand out particularly, but I'm just trying to have a look. So little things, there's little quotes like, the right friends will challenge you to do better. They'll see the greatness inside you before you do. It's just little quotes that you think, actually, yeah, that's true. And it talks about like your circle of friends, the importance of the people around you. If they've got good energy, positive energy, it will bring out the best in you. So it's just different areas of how you can heal your life. So obviously getting away from negative people, that's a part of healing. Being positive, there's a lot about being positive in there, which is another part of healing. There's just loads, so it's definitely a really good book. I've read that one. And then the final thing I would like to say is about meditation. The amount of times I've been told to do meditation, and this was back when I started going to the spiritual church, because obviously I've got some spiritual ability that I'm working on, and it's come really stronger now, which is good. I think it's like a gift, a blessing to have it, and I'm trying to work with it. I get some really strange things, and I can hear things. Might sound a bit freaky, or I'm a bit weird, but I like to talk about it, and it's really, really helped me. But one of the part of trying to connect with spirit is to go into a quiet zone. Now I know we've all been practicing this. I think everybody's slowed down and had a little bit of time out, a little bit of sitting still for a bit, because lockdown we had not much choice. When you weren't working, it was taking you back to basics. And I do believe whether it's going for a 5-10 minute walk on your own, or even just sitting here, so like when Kalani's having a little, I don't know, hours power nap and the kids are doing their stuff in their bedroom, sometimes I just sit quietly. I don't even put on the telly. I just sit, and you don't have to sit there and do a meditation with your eyes closed and hold, you know, sit cross-legged. It's not all about that. If you want to, brilliant. It's about just sitting quiet, sitting back, just relaxing, and actually just having time to switch off and close your eyes and just take in how you're feeling in your inside your body. Because as much as I'm working out and doing all my physical stuff and I'm using my weights and eating well, you've got to take time to just have a little moment to think what's going on up here. And if you're feeling anxious, or you're, like I say, you are feeling stressed, take yourself back to the now. And the way you can do that is sitting in the quiet and just sitting really quietly and just doing some breathing in and out. It's amazing how many people do not know how to sit quietly. People are rushing around, people say, I ain't got time, I ain't got time. Make time. It's the only way. And I know I'm sounding really, what's the word, bossy here, but honest to God, it's changed me. Over the last 3 years, I do 10 minutes in the morning. If I can do more in the afternoon, I will, but 10 minutes in the morning, 10 to 15 minutes, I sit quietly, I do a bit of breathing, I just relax all my body and I just switch off. And don't get me wrong, there's times where I'm sitting there thinking I've got to go shopping, I've got to do that, I've got to do this, I've got to check this order, but then just let those thoughts come through. But as you're in this like moment, just let it come through and then just acknowledge it. Don't push it away, and then just carry on. Just sit there and think, right, I've acknowledged that thought, right, okay, I'll do that later, and then carry on with your meditation. And the more you do it, the better you'll get. And I know I've waffled on, but I hope that helps in any, if I can help with 1 or 2 people, I just feel I need to put that across, then great. So my moral of the story is, have a bit of time for yourself. Focus on your mind as well as your physical body, because believe me, the two go together. And I think if we can all do that, I think it will help a lot with anxiety, with people having panic attacks, people getting stressed. And I do believe there's a lot to be keeping down now in the present. Anyway, stop waffling now. Have a good afternoon.